What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special presentation of. Well, there isn't actually a a name for this video. It's just a special presentation that we're trying out. Essentially, it's kind of like a Q&A kind of thing. We have had Q&A videos before in the past. And it was pretty cool. A lot of people submitted their questions and everything to us. So I thought that we'll try it out again. So this is basically a special presentation of a Q&A. We'll see if we can do this like on a weekly basis. We'll see. The only thing that's actually preventing us from doing this on a weekly basis because it's very busy in the store, and as you can tell right now, it's not very busy because we're recording this at very early in the morning. Not early enough that 6:30 or something, but early enough that I'm by myself in here. For the most part, a lot of people know that I actually arrive here very early in the morning. For most days and whatnot, so I'm always here very early. So if you guys have some time early in the morning, you can come and entertain me here. But the sole purpose of this video is essentially we're getting a lot of questions from people, a lot of people, because again, we've got a lot more customers now, so we have a lot of customers that's a little bit new to the process of like what we do here at the store. Some basically haven't seen it before, or they haven't experienced it before. As you guys know, we do a little bit more different in this store. We actually combine two things from a comic book industry, the newer side of a comic book industry in terms of, well, everything in terms of experience, customer service, all that stuff. Even the white gloves too as well. So the infamous white gloves. We try to do a little bit more different. We try to do a little bit new, and then we try to respect what was done in the past. But there are some things in the past that, in the comic book industry, that's still being done now, and we're not doing that anymore because, well, it's just bad practice in terms of business wise, and then two, it's not within in today's time kind of thing. But we'll get to that too as well. But the main purpose is basically just answering some questions. So here's my phone. Just trying to there you go. Here's my phone where I keep my notes, as some of you guys will know. So we're gonna start off with a couple of questions. One question is, hey Tim, what is a legacy subscriber? So a lot of you guys probably noticed I mentioned a lot about our legacy subscriber, right? I said thank you for our legacy subscriber, legacy subscriber this, legacy subscriber that. In here at the store, we coined the term, not coined, but I want to say like we made up a term, but so I guess coin is a good word for it. It's not like it's being followed a lot. So we coined the term called the legacy subscribers. So essentially, legacy subscribers are our older subscribers that's been with us since the very beginning. Essentially, since last year, August. So legacy subscriber is basically someone who's been with us for a while. We didn't want to call them old because they're not old. So we don't want to say very old or like older. I don't know. We just didn't want to say old, so we said legacy subscribers. Plus, legacy subscribers sounds a lot nicer and better. And then Marvel Legacy came out, so I don't know. Legacy subscribers is anyone from August all the way down to January, essentially our first 6 months of being in business. Those are our legacy subscribers, and currently right now we have 120 legacy subscribers. I counted the other day. So we have about 120 legacy subscribers, which is great, which is actually really great. So again, thank you for our legacy subscribers actually continuing our trust with us. Yeah, we have 120 legacy subscribers, and fun fact, we actually still remember our very first transaction. He is still one of our subscribers in here. So he was pretty awesome. The story behind that actually is it's quite funny. That's why I'm like, he's still here. The story behind that is quite funny. So just to sidetrack a little bit, he was our very first transaction during our grand opening, and then what ended up happening was everything was going to plan. Um, we had cupcakes and all that, and we had the balloons and everything for our grand opening. It was great. The whole place was packed. It was awesome, and then we had a lineup for people to pay. Then he was the very first one, and then as we're about to check him out and he was gonna pay by credit, he's gonna be like our first transaction. We're like, yes, first transaction. um our till kind of crapped out on us. It wasn't working, and he had to wait there for like a good 20 minutes, 25, while I fix it too as well. And it was so bad, but we're like, oh man, he's never coming back. And no, he's our legacy subscriber, so he's been back. And we've been just like every other customers that we've had in here, they're just not customers anymore. We become friends with them too as well. So that's a quick story of one of our legacy subscribers, our very first transaction. So with that being said, let's go to another question. Hey Tim, I see that you always say FOC date. What is an FOC? Perfect. So that's actually a really good question. I'm assuming that this person is actually brand new to our store. An FOC is essentially something called a final order cutoff, right? A final order cutoff is it means that it's your whoa. I should really turn this off. So a final order cutoff is essentially your last day and time that you can order before you can't anymore. The word FOC is actually coming from the ordering process that we do at Diamond Distribution. So with this store, we're a little bit more transparent in terms of how we operate things in here. And here's another hint. Here's the word again. Our legacy subscribers actually are very well rounded on what FOCs are. So you'll see, if you're brand new in here, you'll see I'll talk to some people, hey, your FOC date is this and that. They're like, oh yeah, I understand. And some people are like, what? What are they talking about? We tend to be a little bit more transparent in terms of like how our operations work in the back end. That's basically one of the things that we wanted to do differently here at the store. We want our customers to be as much involved in terms of how this store operates, right? A lot of our legacy subscribers know that Monday, Thursday, we clean up in here. We either mop or broom. We clean the windows in here too as well every Monday, Thursday, all that stuff in there, right? So it actually gets to that point where they know how we operate here in the store. And that's basically for our newer subscribers. That's what we want you guys to be at, to the point that our habits. I was gonna say habituals. Our habits in the store. When does Tim does his orders? When does the ordering process and all that kind of stuff. So we're a little bit more transparent into that. So when you hear us say FOC, don't be afraid to ask if you don't know what that is. Again, FOC is the final order cutoff. So that means that on that day and time, that is your last day and time to order anything that you want us to order. Either it's figurines, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, or issues that you might have missed out. That's what FOC stands for. So yeah, that's pretty much what FOC is. Next question. Hey Tim, I love your prepay service. I haven't seen any comic book store that I know of that does prepay before. When did you guys come up with that, and why do you do it? This is one of the most common questions I've been getting, that we've been getting in here. Quite recently, this is one of the most asked questions. The prepay. So the prepay, we didn't come up with that. That's something that's been implemented since ever, right? It's actually included with the previews packet. So I'm gonna put a preview magazine in here. So this is a preview magazine. Along with a preview magazine, it comes with a few things, right? It comes with a bunch of catalogs. It comes with like 2 extra catalogs now. It comes with a Marvel catalog. Now it comes with a DC catalog, as well as an ordering form catalog, so people can actually order stuff from the catalog itself. The Previews magazine is essentially that you can get it in the store too as well, so you can actually see what's coming up 2 months ahead of time. Okay, so we're gonna get into a little bit more explanation. The Previews magazine that you get every month, that we get every month, is actually previews. It's actually about books that's coming out 2 months ahead of time, because the way Diamond does it is that Diamond distribution actually orders 2 months ahead of time, so we have to order 2 months ahead of time. With that being said too as well, is that once you get this order form, which I'm going to put up right here, this is the order form, or a prepay form, that you actually go through and mark off what books that you want for us to order. That has been implemented for years and years. I used to actually fill out this order form when I used to collect comic books and give it to my my comic book retailer. This has actually been encouraged by Diamond to actually been filled out. For some reason, I felt like when I was collecting, I was the only one actually doing the order form. So, you know, I thought to myself that when I ever open a comic book store, I'm going to implement the order form. The only thing about the order form is that it includes every single book that comes out 2 months ahead of time, including provocative ones. We designed the ordering. We don't go by this ordering form. Well, not as often. There's only like a handful of people that actually goes by this ordering form here at the store now. But what we do is that we have a whiteboard in here, and that whiteboard essentially has all of the main issues or key issues coming out basically 2 months ahead of time, right? So what we do is that we don't want anybody to miss out on these key issues. So we actually implemented that whiteboard, and now you can actually prepay those boards itself. So instead of actually going through the whole list, we give you what is the most demanded, or what will be the most demanded. For example, right now, Fantastic Four #1 is there. Extermination #1 is there too as well. There's also Hunt for Wolverine Dead End. That's actually there too as well. So these are all key books that's coming out. Oh, Infinity Wars #1 too as well. These are key books coming out, right? The reason why we do prepays is we don't want a lot of inventory. So this is where the whole notion of the old mentality of doing a comic book store versus the newer mentality. Just because you have so much inventory doesn't necessarily mean that you have the best store. That just means that you have a lot of inventory. We have a whole wall of inventory right there. That's basically all our back issues right there. So what we do is basically, getting back to it, just a side note, in the old ways of actually doing comic book stores, they actually tend to harbor a lot of inventory. And then that actually contributed to the fall of what happened back in the 90s, where there's a lot of comic book stores pop in and out. And that's what's happening right now too as well. You would notice that there's a lot of comic book stores that would pop up and then all of a sudden they'll pop down. They just shut down, right? Because essentially part of it is inventory itself. So just a little bit of history. Back in the 90s, there's a lot of comic book stores that's actually developed and then they did not develop. They just kind of shut down. The reason why is because they would order things that they don't necessarily need. They would order certain amounts that they don't need. One prime example is Spawn #1, and I believe X-Men #1, the one that Jim Lee did. So Spawn #1, currently at this date, is the best-selling independent comic book. You're looking at being sold at 1.5 million copies. 1.5 million copies. That's a lot of copies that was sold. And then you have Jim Lee's X-Men at 2.5 million copies, or 5.2 million copies being sold. Just to give you a little bit of a scale or contrast on what that is, let's just say if we take the city of Toronto, just because I'm Canadian. So a city of Toronto has about 2.5 million people. You're telling me that an X-Men #1 sold 5.2 million copies. There is more copies of X-Men #1 done by Jim Lee than there is a population of a metropolitan like Toronto. That's insane. So essentially what happened is that comic book stores order them in drones, in crates, everything. It's insane. Now, if you're going to order that much copies, you better have that much people purchasing them. So, and this is where all the background thing happens. So the best way I can describe this is this. When we do our subscription, right? When we do our subscription, we tell people that basically when the books that you have in here actually arrives, we put it in your envelope. But we never ever guarantee anything to people. Because if you're guaranteed, you better know that it's 100% will be there. And there is no guarantees in life. You and I both know that. You and I that's watching this right now. You and I both know that there's no guarantees in life. There's only 2 things guaranteed in life. And you can say it with me. The 2 things are, that's right, death and taxes. Those are the only 2 things guaranteed in life. By prepaying on what we're doing, that's Diamond Distribution actually recommended what we're doing, is that you're guaranteeing the customer that they will get that issue because they've already paid for it. So that's theirs, right? And there's also a way to actually control inventory. So I'm gonna put an illustration in here. So I kind of like pictures. Pictures better describe things. So let's just say you have this much customers. You have 1 to 20 customers, right? 1 to 20 customers, and you tell them when your book gets here, it's guaranteed that you will have it on your envelope. Great, you can definitely say that, because if you have this much customers, that means that you're ordering. So let's just say Superman, right? Let's just say Michael Bendis Superman #1. If you're ordering Superman #1 and you have this much customers, there's a good chance that you're gonna order this much, right? You're gonna order this much because this will guarantee you about everyone who actually that would take care of all of your subscribers, as well as a little bit more for walk-ins, right? So yeah, you can definitely guarantee that they will have it on their pull list. Now, if you have this much customers and you say, we guarantee that you will get your stuff, perfect. That's actually still possible, right? That means that you have to order about this much in order to meet their demand, as well as a little bit more, right? Currently, we are at this many customers. This is all of our subscribers right now. So now let's just say that this many customers, an average pull list for those customers is not 1. It's at least 2. Let's say 2, right? So let's just say that they order Superman #1, like Michael Bendis, and they also subscribe to Action Comics, anything from 1001 and over, right? So that means that you have to order this much Superman #1 and this much Action Comics 1000 in order to meet that demand. But then you also have to order this much Action Comics and this much Superman in order to actually have walk-ins, and capture new customers as well. So that means that your grand total of order for 2 titles is this right there, right? So in order for us to have a budget, Diamond Comics actually help us out in there, right? We take in a little bit of a discount in order to actually order that much copies, right? So the markup in there, so we do have a margin in there too as well, which I won't be revealed, but there, even though we're transparent about what happens in the background, there are some things that we're not going to tell you because, well, we have that form that we have to fill out, that if we do that, if we reveal something like that, we get sued, and we don't want that. So we do get a little bit of a discount in there, so we can actually order that much in there. So that is only for 2 titles, right? And that's only for this much customers. And you can still guarantee that. That's no problem, right? Now, what's going to happen is this. This is how much subscribers that we have currently. And the average title that we have for these customers is this much. Yeah, that much title. That is, and then we have to account for how many we have to order to, people subscribe to that kind of title, that people subscribe to it. So let's just say we're gonna take Action Comics 1000 and then Superman again, right? We have this much customers right now. In order to meet the demand, right, we have to order this much for it. Yeah, that is actually how much we order in this store. This store may be a mom and pop store, but we're ordering like a medium-sized business right now. So that is how much we have to order. Why is that much we have to order? One, we have to meet the demand that people subscribe to it, meaning that they have it on their pull list. Number two, we have to meet the demand of people walking into the store because they've either heard about our store and they heard how well we take care of our books and everything, and the bag and boards are free and the discounts that we have, so we can actually capture more customers to subscribe to us too as well. So now that poses a dilemma, right? It poses 2 dilemmas. One dilemma is who gets the books first, right? That is something that most comic book stores do not tell you. It's essentially who gets the books first. What is your system of who gets them first? And this is basically how it goes. We had to decide how we were going to do this because we can't put our legacy subscriber first and neglect all the new ones, because the new ones will be like, well, are we not important enough? We're not as important as they are. That's not fair to the newer subscribers. We can't put the newer subscribers first because the legacy subscribers will say, well, we've been with you guys for a while. Why are we being pushed aside, right? So there has to be a certain tier that we have to make up in order to have a structure. And that's what this store is about. We've always said in the very beginning, if we see a flaw, we actually try to improve it as often as possible, right? It's something that we've developed that if we see something wrong, we have time to develop it, right? So we develop a system and we look back and say, hey, you know what? Back then, or till now, a pre-order system is actually in place. Why don't we do pre-order systems, right? Prepay these books, and then essentially you're paying for it already. That means you would be the first one to get them. And that's the system that we built. And the system that we built is that these are the main titles that's going to be key issues 2 months from now. And then if you prepay for it now, you are guaranteed to actually receive it first because you've already paid for it. That is a system that we built. That system actually solves 2 problems. It's like literally, 2 birds with 1 stone. One, it solves a tier problem of who gets them first. And the second, it controls our inventory, because now we're going to go back to this example. If we have this much customers, right, and these much people essentially prepaid for them, we know for a fact that guaranteed that we will order this much to cover those people. But we're also going to be ordering this much for walk-ins, right? But we also took that a little bit further, that we're going to order a little bit more than usual, and we're going to order this much for walk-ins and for everybody who's late on the game of like, oh yeah, I just heard that this is actually going to be good, can you put that on my list? So that controls our inventory flow. So now we know that we're ordering this much copies in order for everybody that walks in, our subscribers and prepays, get these books. Now, in the older times, the older ways of doing this is that people would look at, say, Fantastic Four #1 coming out in August, and they say, and most retailer goes, it's going to be a big book. It's going to be a great book. You know what we'll do? We'll order this much. why would you order this much copies of it just because it's going to be a hot book? That doesn't make any sense, right? If you order this much and you only have this much customer subscriber base on it, why would you order this much? That means it's just basic math. This minus this equals this much inventory. And let's just take into account that, you know, this much people actually gets, you know, walks in and gets them too as well. You're still going to be left with this much inventory. And that's basically what ended up happening back in the 90s. They will order so much copies and they will be left with thousands, I mean with thousands, with hundreds and hundreds of copies, and they're not selling. So essentially you're blowing your budget in terms of just in hopes that you will have this much people coming in and and purchasing it, and then your margin will be like, oh yeah, that looks good. So, you know, so what ended up happening is that some stores try to counter that, and I've seen this happen through history. They counter it by, there is a movement that's happening that they start charging for bagging boards. We don't charge for bagging boards. When I was collecting, I've never been charged for bagging boards because, well, my comic book store knows how to do their inventory. You know, they start charging for bagging boards in order to just make up for the loss that they already they've been getting, right? And that's not right. A basic right for every consumer in a comic book store is a bagging board. They should be able to get bagging boards along with their purchase, right? So that's just a little bit of something that we're doing. So essentially, by doing prepays, it controls our inventory, as well as it actually controls the system of tiers of who gets them first, kind of thing, right? So that's why we always encourage pre-ordering and prepaying for these items. It's not something that it's out of the blue, right? It's been available for everybody for the longest time. You know, and we're also, in terms of controlling our inventory, you know, we want to control our inventory as much as possible, because, you know, we try to do good by anybody here in the community. You know, we do a lot of signings, we do a lot of community work, community involvement too as well. We do blood donations and everything. You know, this is something that this community here in Miami needs, and it's been lacking of in the past years. So, and that's something that we've seen, and we're doing our best to actually provide that for you, to blow all that out and just to shut down this store solely because, you know, we're gonna order things in millions. I'm exaggerating. We're gonna order one title in millions is just, that's not right. You know, that's not right by us, and that's not right by our customers. You know, we're going to continue doing something like this in order to control our inventory and to control the tier system too as well, in terms of who gets them first, kind of thing. You know, that's why we always encourage that you should prepay things. A lot of people have been asking me this because this is something that they haven't seen before. To tell you honestly, this is something that you should have been notified years ago. This is something that's been implemented a while, for a long time. So what's going to happen is that if you would like to do prepays, it's always available on our website too as well, and as well as here in the store. We highly encourage that you prepay so you do not miss out on any of the issues. But in terms of reorders, on the other hand, we do reorders here too as well. The reorders, on the other hand, is a little bit more different than prepays. We don't order things on the fly, and there's a reason why we don't order things on the fly. If we order things in the fly, we get charged double. So now let me explain how the ordering process works in here. We have an FOC date for ordering and reordering things. The process there is that there is a certain FOC date that you guys have to meet and that we have to meet, so that you will receive all your orders and reorders by the last Wednesday of the month. Anything after that, you will receive your orders and reorders at the very first Wednesday of the following month, right? And this is something that we worked with Diamonds too as well. So essentially, the reason why we can't order in a fly is because if we order on a fly, Diamond would actually charge double for delivery for that, right? And that's not fair for anybody, right? We're not gonna charge you double just so that we can make up the delivery charge or anything like that. That's not gonna happen. So essentially, this is what happens. Diamond has given us, any retailer, a way to order on the fly. So for example, there's a news that just came out and say, hey, you know what, you can get this variant cover if you get this and this and that, right? Or hey, Fantastic Four #1 is going to come with another variant cover with no extra charge. It's not going to be a 1 out of 50 or not 1 out of 25. And people call us like, hey, can you get me this, can you get me this, can you get me this? You know, we can definitely do that, but you'll receive it at the end of the month. Or if you run out of or we run out of things and you also want it, you'll receive it at the end of the month when we reorder things. If we don't, essentially, and we order on the fly, what ends up happening is that it tax on top of our weekly budget. So just to give you guys a little bit of range, the monthly average for this store is about 6 to about 7,000. That's about the monthly average that we have. You're looking at about a good 1,000 plus to about 2,000 on a weekly basis, right? If we were to order on the fly, they would actually put that on top of our weekly budget. And all of a sudden you will notice, if we will notice that, you know, our weekly budget's been shut. It's just been blown out of proportion, you know, 5,000, 6,000, 4,000, something like that if we were to order on the fly. And that means we're going to go over budget. If we go over budget and we only have an X amount of customers that purchase X amount of stuff, that doesn't really balance out. And essentially, that is also what ended up happening with stores back in the 90s, and even today they would pop up and then all of a sudden they shut down because they would go over budget. You know, we're looking at our budgets very carefully, and we are within the provisions of Diamond Comics, right? We don't want to be another store that actually blows this stuff out of proportion. That's not going to happen to this store. So when we order and reorder things, you will definitely get them at the last Wednesday of the month, right? And all of our legacy customers actually know this already. So this is something that's not new to our legacy customers. If you are one of our legacy customers actually watching this, you already know this too as well. So this is just something repetitive. But for our newer customers, this is something brand new. And essentially, this is basically what's been literally happening in stores everywhere. If you want, you can definitely watch a sci-fi documentary concerning it too as well. They did a small small portion about the rise of Image Comics, and then they'll also tell you that this is essentially what ended up happening too as well, in how stores literally just pop up out of nowhere and then shut down, is because they just blow their budgets. That's not going to happen to this store. You know, we love comic books, and this is an industry that we love doing. We're always going to be improving on how things work in here to benefit you guys, right? We understand that the prepay service is a little bit brand new to some people, and we know that it's been implemented a long time ago, but it's brand new to some people because they've never been introduced to it. But we are more than happy to actually answer those questions and concerns that you may have concerning the prepay service. But here's what I will tell you: the prepay service is here to stay. Just like this store is here to stay. We will definitely improve on things in here as much as possible. So the reason why we do prepay is, one, to control inventory, as well as to control the tier system on who gets them first. So we don't discriminate anybody, and we treat everybody the same. Legacy, brand new customers, someone just walk right in, we treat them all the same, right? That's what a prepaid service is. And what's going to happen is that starting in August, we're going to open up our prepaid service not just for key issues that we have in the whiteboard, but for everything else on the Previews magazine. So definitely watch out for that. So we're gonna give those out to everybody. We always give the Previews magazine for free for everyone in here. You can definitely start marking them down, and then we can start ordering them for you so that you don't miss out on any of the issues, whether they are whether they are key issues or not. You will not definitely miss out on them. So again, that's essentially how the prepaid service works. There's two more questions. Any news you can give us concerning artists stopping by at your store? I saw your Instagram pictures from MegaCon, Tim. Tell us who's coming. We're keeping that a tight lip. We're keeping that tight lip on who's going to be coming here at the store. You guys know how we operate here in the store. We always plan things way ahead of time on who we have coming in the store, and we're always keeping that close to the chest, or better yet, close to my chest, because sometimes I don't even tell the guys, just in case it slips out. Final question. I'm just gonna take one more question because this video is running a little bit long. Final question. Any news on expansion? Expansion. I'm assuming that that question is about if we are expanding our store. So essentially what's going to happen is this.